Hi. Great. So just want to start off by welcoming everyone to SLC's first official Facebook Live. SLC stands for the Sign Language Community, and we are very excited to be live on Facebook for the first time tonight. My name is Heather Quayle, and I'll pass over to you then. Hi there, my name is Kelly Elizabeth. This is my sign name, Kelly. Thanks, Heather. Great. So tonight, both of us will hopefully be talking and sharing a bit about our YWAM experience. YWAM stands for Youth with a Mission. So I headed over to YWAM back, when was it, Kelly? When did I go? January. You went in January time. Yes, January, of course, that's when I went. So I went along, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why I decided to go to YWAM and my experience there. I just want to let everybody know that during this Facebook Live, you will have the opportunity to type comments or questions, and we would really encourage you to do that. We have somebody who will be feeding us the questions that you type, and we would really appreciate if you do comment or share your questions as much as you would like to. We will try our best to answer them. Sorry. Okay, so first of all, I want to start to explain a little bit about why I decided to go to YWAM. As I said, YWAM stands for Youth with a Mission. I looked at the Discipleship Training School program, and I thought that it was something initially for younger people. I thought, at my age, is this something that I should be going to? But actually, I realized that there were people from all around the world, of all different ages, and from all different backgrounds who would become involved in YWAM. The reason I decided to go to the YWAM DTS in Romania is that it was designed for deaf people. It was accessible to me in that it took place in sign language, and it was great for me, so that's why I decided to go. Kelly, can you share a little bit now? Yes, I actually went to YWAM in America in 2018 as a student, and that was a really, really impactful experience for me. It actually absolutely changed my life. When I went and then came back home, people actually started to comment on the change in me, and going to YWAM in America did just change my daily walk with God, and I had a really fantastic experience. From that, I was sharing a lot about YWAM with people. Naturally, people were seeing the change in me and asking me what was involved. The team then actually asked me if I would become involved as a staff member in Romania. So I thought about that and considered that prayerfully for a while, and decided that was what God wanted me to do. So I went along, and then Heather joined as a student, which was brilliant. So back to you, Heather. Yes, I went to YWAM, as Kelly said, as a student. So I was learning it as part of the course over there. And Kelly was a staff member. As Kelly said, she had been previously in YWAM in America as a student, and then became a staff member. And I really do thank God that Kelly was there. YWAM was a 5-month program, and you're taught Monday to Friday a number of different topics. Topics covered are things like who is God, what is the Holy Spirit, spiritual warfare, all sorts of topics linked to Christianity and to faith. So YWAM should have been a 5-month program. The first 3 months were meant to be the lecture phase. So as I mentioned, we'd covered a lot of topics like who is God, what's the Holy Spirit. And following that 3 months, the second period would be a 2 months of mission. So the idea and really the concept behind YWAM is that all the theory is then put into practice in outreach. So that's why they have the initial sort of learning phase and lecture phase, followed by the more practical outreach phase. And having gone to that lecture phase, the learning phase, I felt it was very beneficial for me, definitely. I felt that it helped me grow spiritually myself and also helped me in my relationships with other people. YWAM they would have brought in different speakers to us every week. They would have brought in deaf missionaries, not only deaf people, sometimes people who could hear came along. We had people come physically to teach us, and we also had online teaching. But then, as I'm sure you will know, coronavirus cropped up recently, and that did somewhat disrupt our YWAM journey. So 3 weeks ago, all of the staff and students had to leave, to go back to their own home. So things are on hold at the minute. I am hoping that I will get to go back and finish the 5 months at the end of the year. So I thought it might be good to just give you a bit of an idea of what everyday life was actually like for me as a YWAM student. So as I said, Monday to Friday, we would have had classes and seminars and lectures. And that would have been taking place every morning from maybe 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. We were based in a house, and we had a group of about 7 or 8 students, 4 staff members and 2 leaders. So it was a lovely group atmosphere. We shared tasks, we supported each other with cooking, with cleaning, household tasks. We also had fellowship together. We studied the Bible together, and would have then spent our free time together as well. And in the evenings, of course, we would have socialised, would have headed out to restaurants and fun activities like bowling or played outside, lots of different things. So it was a really, really lovely time together. And where the house was situated was beautiful. It was a very close walk to the beach. You could go down, head on down at 5 o'clock in the morning to see the sunrise, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I think actually those times just reminded me of how amazing God is, that this is his creation. And it just reminded me of the magnitude and the beauty of God really as well. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about why I decided to go to YWAM. I think YWAM was is a really safe place. I felt it was a safe place to go, and a place where you had an opportunity to be open and to be vulnerable with people. You could ask questions. There was no stupid question. There is no stupid question in YWAM. And I think that real emphasis on asking questions meant that it encouraged growth, and it encouraged growth amongst us. And we were talking about God and learning about God every day. It was different from sort of, at home we go to church maybe on a Sunday, and it's very easy to then put God back in a box during the week until you reach the next Sunday and open that box up again. But in YWAM, we were learning and talking about God every day. And not only learning and talking about God, but also spending time ourselves talking to God individually. It was brilliant. It really, really was good. And just that sense of living in a community. You see the same people every day. Now, which of course does have its challenges at times, but at the same time, there's so many positives. We had a great time being able to share with each other, being able to talk about each other's spiritual journeys with God. And as I said earlier, YWAM stands for Youth with a Mission, and some people may think that it's going to be full of students, but there were people there from all different backgrounds. Honestly, there were older people, younger people, more middle-aged people, and it was a great opportunity for us all to learn from each other and to work together and to live with people who have different experiences to yourself. Now, I would say there was a bit of it that it was a bit intense at times. It wasn't all just theory. It wasn't just intellectual. There was a lot of sort of heart searching at times as well. And I think what it really emphasized to me was they said, if you want to come to YWAM, you need to have faith. You need to really trust that God's going to use this to change your life. There's going to be personal reflection, and it will stretch your faith, but then it will ultimately grow your faith. And that was something I did experience, but the group was so supportive, and that was a really rewarding experience. So as I said, I was going to talk a little bit about why I wanted to go to YWAM. And in my journey up to now, I have struggled with mental health issues since the age of 17. And I've had a lot of help from the NHS and a number of different services, but I did just feel that I wasn't really breaking ground. It was sort of a matter of two steps forward, one step back. I would see progress and then I would feel like I was back just where I started again. And that was quite frustrating. Um, and I have known God from a young age. My parents took me to church. Now my family are all deaf, so sometimes we didn't have the best access to the services, and I think as a result of that, I stopped going to church when I got a little bit older. But I always did have a sense that God was there. And through harder times in my life, I did have that hope and that ability to cling to God and a faith that God would help me when other people couldn't. And the NHS is brilliant. Psychologists helped me. People really did help me. But I think there are some problems that we really just need God to help us break through. And, God is that strength. God is that refuge. God is that person who will be with you. And I think sometimes some issues just need to be addressed by God. So I just felt personally at this time in my life that it was the right time for me to go to YWAM. I wanted something at this time in my life that it was a bit more in-depth teaching rather than just going to church every week on a Sunday. Sorry, let me just get this up on my phone again. So, yes, the way I knew that God was calling me to go to YWAM. Well, I'd heard about YWAM really initially through Kelly. Kelly gave a talk at SLC about YWAM a couple of years ago or last year. And the main thing we all would have said is we saw a real change in Kelly after she came back from being a student at YWAM. There was a life about her. There was a light coming from her eyes. And that did really impact me. That was something that I just really noticed, this real life in her. And I did consider YWAM. But at that point, I thought it's not something I necessarily need to do. I thought, well, I have plenty of access at home. I already know God. I'm a Christian. I can access resources online. But that did sort of change. Last year through the summer, I went through a more difficult period in my life, and I really did cling to God. I realized that the things I would have tried to hold on to before, like work and money, didn't have that sustaining grace that only God could have for me. So I thought, well, I'll push on this YWAM door and see if it opens. And if it shuts, I'll leave it at that. But if it opens, that might be an indication that God's calling me to go. So I asked work if I'd be able to have a sabbatical from work, a break from work, to be able to go. And they were very willing, straight ahead. They said that would be no problem. So that was brilliant. And I did just feel a real sense that God was pushing me, screaming for me really to go. And I got this sense that he just wanted to spend more time with me and wanted me to spend more time with him. Now, some people when they go to YWAM would do some fundraising. And that was something that I was a little bit reluctant to do. I just thought I'll see how it goes. But people actually, without me even asking, voluntarily made donations to me. And actually, the money that they donated without me even asking was exactly the amount of money that I needed to cover the 8 weeks that I spent in YWAM until I had to come back, which was amazing. So someone in America was saying that they had a dream when I had a dream for a vision sort of for girls in Northern Ireland. And I was wondering, should I go over, should I stay in Northern Ireland or should I go to Romania for YWAM? What should I do? But I just feel like in everything, this was God pushing me and urging me and encouraging me that Romania YWAM was where he wanted me to go. And it was hard at times. I have a good job here. I have a great family who I love. And there were so many good things that I felt like I was having to leave behind. I had a partner here. I had to be away from my partner and his family for 5 months. So it wasn't easy. It was definitely a big decision. But God has blessed me immensely in making that decision. He really, really has. And I've learned throughout life, if God says go, you go. Because I know through the experiences that I have had in life, I cannot control things. When I try and take it into my hands, when I try and take it into my control, that's when things start going downhill. I have learned that it's better to give the reins to God, and it's better to trust Him. So experience has taught me the best thing to do is let go. And if God says go, I need to go. So I trusted in God's plan, and I trusted in the plan that He had for my life, as I know He has plans for your life. Sorry, another challenge. Oh, Kelly's just saying, we've got a question for you. So Amandine has a question. She is asking, are there any teachings which have made a lasting impact on you? Heather, would you like to respond to that first? It's a question for both of us. Sorry, Kelly, you keep freezing, so I'm just struggling to see. Okay, I'll repeat it again. Heather, am I freezing? Yeah? Okay. Is that a little bit better? Mondine was asking which of the teachings that you've heard have made the greatest impact on you. Mondine. Yes, okay, I've got the question now. Brilliant. So I would say the most impactful teaching for me at YWAM, I would say, yes, I have had a strong faith up to now, but, my sense of the word faith up to now would have been the sense of you don't sort of know what to expect or what's going to happen. Now, I have to say I have struggled all my life with reading the Bible at times, but that was something that really developed in me when I went to YWAM. We learned about who God is. We learned about God the Creator. And the fact that God created the world just by saying, let there be light, and He created the world. And I actually realized, we heard a teaching at YWAM, and they emphasized just how the Bible was God breathed, and the Bible was written by God and inspired by God. And that actually gave me a real passion for reading the Bible. And some people, when they're reading the Bible, say you pick a verse, you can kind of color code it. So you can, they suggested maybe if a name's mentioned, you could give that name a color and highlight that name in that particular color. Or if a particular emotion comes up or a theme, you could highlight all of that theme in a particular color. And that was really interesting for me. And it just made the Bible a lot more visual for me. Now, I can remember a week that was quite a tough week at YWAM. They were saying to us that it was a preacher who came along, and a teacher, and he said that he sort of challenged us and told us not to pick faults at other people without doing some soul searching and reflection on ourselves as well. And he was really encouraging us not to judge others. His point was, he was saying, if you don't let God work in you, how then can you go and share with other people? And that was a real challenge for me, actually. I think also to some extent I'd been focusing on my sins or things I'd been struggling with. And I think that week I just realized that if I was focusing so much on what I considered to be my problems, that just left me in a dark place. And I sort of realized that we all have weaknesses, we all have challenges, we all have struggles. None of us are ever going to be perfect. So rather than, whilst it's still acknowledging issues, rather than dwelling on them and becoming obsessed with them and focused on them, it was better for me to look to God and to look to Jesus and focus on Him, because we all have struggles. So those were two things that really impacted me. And actually, if I would say the week I enjoyed most, that would be the week we focused on spiritual warfare. I have learned about spiritual warfare in the past. And they were mentioning how, you know, sometimes if somebody's doing something wrong, we shouldn't necessarily just focus on the person and blame the person, but sometimes the devil can actually be controlling them and operating them. It's almost like a puppet. So that was a really interesting point of view for me. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay. The next question is from Naomi. Naomi has asked, what is the biggest way that God impacted your life when you were at YWAM? So I'll maybe answer that first, and then we'll pass on to you, Heather. Okay, so how God impacted my life. Well, I know that God is always with me now. I know, well, now I know that. I know that, I suppose I'd heard that before, but I didn't necessarily believe it. And I realized that God was not only with me, but wanted to talk to me and wanted to be a part of me. And I realized that wherever I went, God would go with me at times, or God would go with me all of the time. And after I realized that, my faith improved massively. I realized that I had to just trust God. I had to depend on Him. So that's what I learned. So over to you, Heather. What is the biggest way God impacted your life when you're at YWAM? Yeah, so Naomi asked, what is the biggest way God impacted my life when I was at YWAM? Well, I would say that the biggest impact on me was my heart just changed big time. I think a lot of the time it is easy to see other people suffering and want to help other people, but then sort of neglect yourself and forget about yourself at times. And when I went to YWAM, my heart really changed because after spending time with God every day, I think I started to get a sense of how God felt about me, a sense about how much He loves me, and that when I neglect myself or don't care for myself, that actually hurts Him because He loves me. So I mentioned earlier struggles with mental health. Going to YWAM, I realized that when I don't look after myself, when I don't eat enough for my body, or when I don't care about myself, or when I don't value myself, that is actually painful for God to see. So I think it's helped me learn to love myself a little bit more, and that helped me learn to see God the way that He sees me. And I think, you know, for all of us, it's so easy to love others at times, sometimes even easier than it is to love ourselves. Sometimes that part can be a bit harder. So that's what I learned, and hopefully that answers the question. Okay, the next question is from Mary Jane. Yep, this question's from Mary Jane. Mary Jane has asked, how are you both doing since you've been back home for the last 4 weeks? Okay, so for me, things have been good. I have had a good time with my family. I have been settled at home. And I've also had an opportunity to catch up on things I've probably been neglecting and needed done. Lockdown and things that have come alongside coronavirus has given us opportunities, I think, and it's given me opportunities to get things done at home and to talk to my family, to do those DIY projects I've been trying to get done, and spend time reading and cooking and just having good quality time with Jesus. So it's been good for me so far. Thank you. Heather, how about you? Hi, Mary Jane. Yeah, being back home for me has been okay. Obviously, it is was hard when I was away at YWAM. I did miss home so much. So I feel happy that I am back at the minute. I'm enjoying the time that I have here at home, and I'm also putting into place some of the things that I learnt in YWAM, God time, Jesus time. I feel like I in YWAM was spending every day with God, and in doing that, you sort of get to learn His voice and hear His voice. So I felt when I came back home, I really felt God tell me to get back to journaling again. And previously I would have drawn a little bit, and I would have drawn some memories from the past, from when I was a little girl, and not always positive things. But I can remember when I was younger, draw, I would have hugged my dad would have hugged me around the back, and I found in that journal that drawing, and it just really hit me, the love of a father. And also I realized, oh, sorry, just to interrupt where you are there, Heather, just to let you know, it's nearly 8 p.m. now, so we're going to pause for a few minutes to clap for our key workers. You are very welcome to go outside to your doors if you would like to. I'll just stay here and lead the clap from here. So we'll have a little pause, and in a few minutes we'll resume again. Okay, Heather, sorry, I interrupted there. Yes, so back to the question really. Things have been good for me since I've got back home. I have brought a lot of things over from YWAM that I learned there and implemented them in my life since I've got back home. I'm talking to God more. As I said earlier, I feel a lot more comfortable with the Bible now. I'm reading the Bible more. I've been journaling and drawing, and I think that has helped me really realize how God sees things sometimes isn't exactly the way I see them. So of course I do miss all the guys in YWAM. I wish we did have more time together. I was not expecting to come back as suddenly as I had to. I was ready to stay there for 5 months, but with things going on in the world with coronavirus at the minute, obviously that changed things. So hopefully we'll all be together again in the near future. Yes, I miss you all as well. At the same time, though, I am happy to be home. I'm happy to be with my family, and I'm looking forward to getting back to YWAM for part 2 when it does come. Our next question is from Daniel. Daniel's asking, is there anywhere you have your heart set to go to for ministry? Sorry, I can't see. Can you say that again? Maybe if you look at the question on the screen, Kelly's just saying. I'll answer this, and then you can answer after, Heather. So for me, I'm happy to go anywhere that God calls me to go. At the moment, we do, as Heather mentioned, have outreach plans as the second part of YWAM. We have outreach plans in Ukraine and other parts of Europe. But after that, my immediate plan would be to do some mission in Northern Ireland. Over to you, Heather. Sorry, I just don't know what the question is. I can't see properly. So Daniel asked, where would your heart be set on going? Do you have anywhere that your heart's set on going for ministry or for missions? Sorry, I just can't get it, the question. It's just freezing too much, sorry. The question's on the screen there, if you maybe look down. Oh, I've got the question now. So Daniel, yes. I suppose my heart would really be for mission at home. I love traveling. I have been traveling a lot since I was 17. I've traveled with the deaf community. I've done mission in church since probably 25, 26. My dad always says there must be gypsy blood in me somewhere. I love traveling. But in saying that, I do have a real heart for mission at home. I think sometimes there's a misconception that to be a missionary, you have to get on a plane and go somewhere. But really, we have a very ripe mission field right on our doorstep. And I think it's about building close relationships with people. At home, you're able to do that in a real in-depth way and in a real long-term, sustainable way. So I think at the minute, my heart is for mission at home. And, you know, I was asking God, actually, what would you, where would you like me to go for mission after YWAM ends? And I feel that he is calling me to the UK. And I feel that's what he said to me. But at the same time, I'm continuing to seek God on that. And at the end of YWAM, I'll see where I go, but I do feel a real passion for mission at home. And Kelly, like you said, you wanted to work in Northern Ireland in mission. Yeah, can't wait. Okay, did you see that last question from Adam there? So the last question is, would you recommend us to go to YWAM and why? Yes, I think YWAM for me was a really positive experience. I felt that I grew, not just in myself, but also in my relationship with God. I realized that no matter what, it's important to put him first in our lives. And I realized that God is faithful. And, when coronavirus cut YWAM to a short sudden stop, there was a part of me that thought, oh well, that wasn't my plan. But I just realized that we can't see God's plans, we can't necessarily see things from his side, and he is faithful. And often when we're going through things, we can't foresee how it's going to turn out, but then when we look back, we see the faithfulness of God in it. And I think having gone to YWAM, it has taught me to trust him, and I look forward to hopefully getting to the end, hopefully being able to go back after things with coronavirus settles and finishing off the course. Would I recommend other people to go? Definitely. For me, it was absolutely worth it. I suppose I would say would I recommend you to go if God is calling you to go? Don't worry about finances. Don't worry about this, that, or the other. If God says go, go. He will supply your needs and He will equip you with everything that you need to do that and to obey His call. You just need to put Him first and He will look after the rest. So yes, I think I would recommend YWAM for other people. Just to add to that, it's a great chance for you to spend a period of your life where you can really start to focus on God without distractions, without the influence of others. You can focus entirely on Him. And 5 months is a relatively short time in terms of a lifespan, and it can be a short time that can really impact the rest of your life. So I would recommend people to grab the opportunity when it presents itself. And it can be difficult, but you will definitely grow stronger through it. I agree with what Heather said there. I think that yes, there are ups and downs. I had ups and downs in YWAM. I had ups and downs when I was doing TTS full time, but it was 100% worth it. And I think, well, I agree with what Heather said. It's a great opportunity to focus 100% on God without any distractions and establish that pattern in your life. I think if God calls you to go, then go. Just have faith. So did you want to add something, Heather? Yep. I just wanted to say, sort of, don't worry about any challenges you may have or any barriers that you may think are going to stop you from going. Myself, as an individual who is deaf blind, I did worry about whether or not things would be accessible for me. But I realized there that there was somebody who was Dutch and had Dutch as their first language, and there were people from America. It was different cultures. Everybody has their own sort of barriers and obstacles, but don't let that stop you from going. If God is calling you, He will smooth the way and He will look after you. Great. Thank you, Heather. Okay, so I just want to say thank you very much for watching, and thank you for everybody who asked questions tonight. I also want to say thank you to Ruth for voicing over and interpreting this live tonight. So thank you to Ruth as well. I can see Ruth over there, so thanks, Ruth. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully we will get to see you in person when lockdown's finished and we'll all get to give each other a big hug. So the SLC online service is tomorrow evening. That'll be at 7:30, and I'll see you there. Good night. Good night from us.